You're listening to a Dare Media Group and Mastiff Media radio station. From Dare Media Group, Radio X Gold, Radio X Country, 6RXM, Radio X Magic, and Dare Talk Radio. And from Mastiff Media, Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, Right Talk Radio, Forward Radio, Mastiff Sports and Shady News Radio. For more information, visit daremediagroup.com.au or mastiff.medias.
You're tuned to the Sportcat Show.
The boss jock has entered the building. You are listening to the Sportcat Show.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. You have the one, the only Sportcat, often imitated, never replicated or duplicated. Hell, I don't know. Welcome, everybody. It is Friday, finally. Hello, Denise. I'm glad you're here. Chris, hello. How are you? And Wendell, how are you? Everybody, come over and join our chat. If I was about to address that. If you happen to be listening on Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, Right Talk Radio, Mastiff Media, I think there's another one, or any of the Radio X or Dare Media Talk, you heard Yerg's and I before the show discussing a hoagie. And it was due to the the funny part of this is, if you listen to my show and you follow Penguin 6 and saw his video from, it was either the last night or the night before with the hoagie incident, those are his photos. And there's a backstory on that, so I'll just leave it at that. But yes, there was a hoagie-toting federal employee that threw a sub and struck a federal officer, and he was wait a minute, she didn't mention YouTube. Hold on a minute, Wendy, I'll get to you. And so he struck a federal employee with a hoagie and was arrested and charged with a felony. And Yerg said he should only been cited with a ticket and released for that. But my argument is, at some point in time, you have to draw the line, because what is next? You throw a hoagie, you throw a rock, you throw something. And if they see one thing occurring, the other will continually be allowed. So you got to put it into it. So, Wendell, I'm not sure. She didn't mention YouTube. She who? There's no she on my show, but hey, that's all right. So, and if you listened to Yerg's Radio beforehand, you would have heard me say I accepted a challenge from one of his super fans. I think he's probably a closet listener to my show, and he doesn't want to admit it. Ken, he challenged me to find one good thing about Gavin Newsom and say next week on his show, on Yerg's show, which I assume we'll do Monday. So I accepted the challenge and I threw it back to Yerg's. I said, okay, you want me to find one good thing about Newsom? You find one good thing about Trump. That's it. Simple challenge. So I will do my homework over the weekend. There's got to be something good about it. There's something good in every person. There always is. So, all right. So thank you to Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, Right Talk Media. I don't know. There's a couple others for allowing us to tickle your ear. Dare Talk Radio and Radio X. Currently on the East Coast, it is 1:15 Friday, August 5th. And if you're in Australia, well, it's tomorrow. We're time traveling. In Sydney, it's 3:15. And in Perth, it's 1:15 tomorrow. Let us know how tomorrow's working out, because today seems to be a good day. So let's see. Chris says, if wearing stupid Viking horns into the Capitol is an insurrection, then striking a law enforcement with anything should be more than a ticket. No argument from me. I have opinions on the insurrection thing, but we'll just leave it at that. All right. So, because I could go both ways. Anyhow, we're not going to go off on that tangent today. It's Friday. Let's talk about some good stuff. One of the things we always talk about is today in history, historical events. And when we go back on this one, we go back to 1461. I don't even know. The Empire of Trebizond surrenders to forces of Sultan Mehmed II, the last remnant of the Byzantine Empire to fall. Emperor David is exiled and later executed. 1620, the Mayflower set sail from Southampton, England, with 102 penguins. Penguins? Why the hell did I say that? They got penguins on. Oh, it's Friday. With 102 pilgrims bound for the New World. Yeah, Wendell. Wendell, I can argue it on both sides. So I ain't scared. So they started setting off the woke people back in 1620. 1900, Chinese Empress Dowager C, her family and court retainers flee Peking for exile as foreign troops move through the capital in attempt to quell the Boxer Rebellion. 1947, India gains independence from the UK and remains a dominion until 1950. 1998, the Omga bombing in Northern Ireland, the worst terrorist incident of the Troubles, kills 29 and injures 220. 2021, Afghan President Ashraf Ghani, yeah, see, I'm not good at these fancy words, flees the country as Taliban forces enter the capital, Kabul, and take control. And today in film, 1918, The Sinking of Lusitania by Winsor McKay produced at 12 minutes long. It is the longest work of animation at the time. 1939, The Wizard of Oz, an American musical fantasy adaptation of L. Frank Baum's book, premieres at the Grauman's Chinese Theater in Hollywood, directed by Victor Fleming and King Vidor, with a cast of Judy Garland as Dorothy, Ray Bollinger as the Scarecrow, Jack Haley as a Tin Man, Bert Lauer as the Cowardly Lion, Frank Morgan, the Wizard, Billy Burke, Glinda, and Margaret Hamilton, the Wicked Witch. That witch always scared me. 1969, Woodstock opens in Bethel, New York. All right. 1903, New Zealand All Blacks play their first rugby test match against Australia's Wallabies at the Sydney Cricket Ground. The All Blacks won 22-3. All right, let's check over here and see what else we got. 1769, Napoleon is born. Okay. We learned yesterday he wasn't as short as we always thought he was. French military and political leader Napoleon Bonaparte. That's probably wrong. Let's just call him Napoleon. He is born on the island of Kursk. Napoleon would be crowned Emperor of the French in 1804, and his tumultuous reign was marked by a series of wars and conquests that ensnared most of Europe. As many as 6 million people lay dead in the conclusion of the Napoleonic Wars. In the end, he was forced out of power in 1814 and exiled to the island of St. Helena, where he died in 1821. Okay. 1914, the opening of the Panama Canal. After 10 years of construction, the Panama Canal opens to boat traffic. The canal made it easier than ever before the ships to travel to the Atlantic to the Pacific. They did no longer have to navigate around South America. The French initially attempted to build the canal starting in 1881, but they were forced to stop due to engineering problems and a high mortality rate among workers. The United States took over in 1904, completing the 51-mile-long canal. 1947, we talked about India gaining independence. 1961, Konrad Schumann, well, he leapt to freedom. As East Germany begins to construct the Berlin Wall, guards are sent to watch over the temporary line of barbed wire separating the East and the West. One German guard, Konrad Schaum, takes advantage of the chaos of the West German protesters and jumps over the barbed wire fence into the west side of Berlin. His public defection to West Germany was captured in a photograph and as well by 16-millimeter film. The photo, Leap into Freedom, became one of the most iconic photos of the Cold War era. I had actually not seen that photo. 1969, we talked about Woodstock. Who's there? Janis Joplin, Grateful Dead. Was the Stones there? I don't remember. Let's see. What else is going on in history today? Well, today, what is today? The holidays for today. It's National Shoe Donation Day. I've never wanted to buy used shoes. Me and my wife have argued about this. I just have never wanted to. It's Assumption of Mary, Spain Day. It's a religious holiday. Chant at the Moon Day. Okay, I'm curious because we have aliens coming. The summer where the days are long and the nights are longer on August 15th, join thousands of people around the country to chant or even howl into heavens as part of the Chant at the Moon Day. The annual event was inspired by the Wenatchee, Washington-based fruit grower, according to local legend. Harvesting stemless cherries around the full moon to make them sweeter. The moon's gravitational pull enhances the tree roots where the cherries are grown. Stemmet decided all the sweetness deserved a celebration, so gather your friends together and let loose your best lunar cheer. You could host a chant at the moon gathering. Grab your friends for a late night picnic under the stars where you're all done feasting, and then howl at the moon. Eat the cherries under the moon. Learn some lunar history. Well, it's made of cheese, right? Okay. Maybe it's not made of cheese, but... And it supposedly rang like a bell. I don't know if that's true or not. Check the Chip Day. Okay, that's for your pets. That's a good day. Feast of Assumption, Chile. Feast of the Assumption. Apparently that's a religious holiday. Flooding of the Nile. Foundation of the Old Panama City. Founding of the Assuan in Paraguay. The Gold Cup Parade. Hawaiian Shirt Day. It's funny. I actually started to buy a Hawaiian shirt the other day. It was a disc golf shirt. India Independence Day. Liechtenstein National Day. Malatia Province Day. National Acadian Day. Kool-Aid Day. Everybody likes the Kool-Aid Man, right? National Leathercraft Day. I tried that once. National Lemon Meringue Day. Okay. National Liberation Day of Korea. National Men's Grooming Day. Hey, I did shave last week. National No SpongeBob Day. What? Why do they not like SpongeBob? National Relaxation Day. St. Mary's Day. World Greatness Day. Why do they not like SpongeBob? I gotta know. The No SpongeBob Day is celebrated August 15th, the day when everybody in Bikini Bottom goes to a secret location, leaving SpongeBob at home. That's kind of depressing. The day is featured in the SpongeBob episode Gone. It should only last one day, but in the episodes extended it for 2 weeks. They love not having to deal with SpongeBob. They erect a SpongeBob statue, burn it, and then dance on the ashes on National No Punge Bob Day. Wow, that's kind of harsh. That is really kind of harsh. Oh, all right. So there you go. It's not nice to make fun of SpongeBob. World Greatness Day. And let's see. We got some other things over here. Why do you not like SpongeBob? Come on. All right. So we discussed those. Let's see what birthdays are today. And let's see. Virginia Clem Poe. John Chisholm. Okay, well, Virginia Clem Poe, by the way, she's the wife of Edgar Allan Poe. John Chisholm, American businessman and successful cattleman on the frontier. Florence Harding, the 31st First Lady of the United States. Ethel Barrymore, the classic film actress, often referred to as the First Lady of American Theater. Julia Child, we know who she was. She was a chef. Eddie Little Sky, one of the first Native American actors to play a Native American role. Jim Lang, host of The Dating Game. Belinda Gates, co-founder of the Gates Foundation with Bill. Deborah Messing, actress best known for her role as Grace in the sitcom Will and Grace. Ben Affleck, award-winning actor whose career has spanned 40 years. In 1635, the first recorded hurricane hits the Plymouth colony. Well, we got another one coming. 1876, law enforcement removes Sioux Indians from Black Hills after gold was found. 1911, Procter & Gamble unveils the latest Crisco shortening. It's been around a while. In 1939, we talked about the Wizard of Oz premiere. In 1960, a UFO is sighted, they saw it, by 3 California patrolmen. We talked about Woodstock. 1971, President Nixon announces a 90-day freeze on wages, prices, and rents. Now, I need to know some backstory on that. Did he get as much grief as the current administration does when they do anything? Apple introduces the first iMac. In 2013, the Smithsonian announces the discovery of carnivorous species. Okay. And let's see. I think that's it for today. All right. So the big story of the day, well, it's Trump is in Alaska and he's meeting with another foreign leader. I read on one mainstream media site, they were saying we were meeting with the enemy and that was treasonous. See, I disagree. I think that your job as a world leader, no matter what country you represent, you should always try and seek peace and talk to other people instead of you have your minions at your disposal. Instead of killing tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, sit down and talk. Grab a beer. I'll agree with President Obama. Grab a beer, sit down, talk, work it out. All right, so the president is still en route to Alaska, and Clinton backs him for a peace prize. Oh, okay. Oh, there. Hillary Clinton has even found something good to say about him. U.S. President Donald Trump is headed to Anchorage with the hope of securing a peace deal with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, as Hillary Clinton backs possible Nobel Peace Prize nomination. Even she can find something nice of him. Let's see. Chris is saying, I'm hearing people talk about the climate change causing hurricanes earlier than expected, but you just said there was one on this day in 1600s. How is that possible? Good question. All right, so we know that the Don is going to meet the Vlad in Anchorage to discuss ending the bad war. And following a meeting on Thursday with top government officials on the summit, Putin said in a short video released by the Kremlin, the Trump administration was making quite energetic and sincere efforts to stop the hostilities and to reach agreements that are of interest to all parties involved, amid claims that Trump may offer Putin access to U.S. resources. See that right there? That's what you want. You want your leader to make sincere efforts to stop hostilities. So at 1531, where's my clock? That's what I'm missing. At 1531, that must be yesterday, or no, it's 15 minutes ago. Clinton said she would nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize. And Putin's press secretary predicts Alaska summit could take 6 to 7 hours. There's some talk of being a short one and perhaps a second longer one. And 2 hours ago, Hillary Clinton said she would nominate Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton announced Friday that she would be willing to nominate President Trump for the prestigious prize should he end the Russia-Ukraine conflict. If he could end it without putting Ukraine in a position where it had to concede its territory to the aggressor, had to in any way validate Putin's visions of a greater Russia, but could really stand up to Putin to make it clear there must be a ceasefire, she said on the podcast Raging Moderates. And reporters asked Trump questions as he boarded Air Force One. Wonder if my buddy Penguin 6 was there. So he tells reporters that the U.S. is the hottest country in the world, and Putin wants a piece of that. Okay, that's an interesting quote. And they ask about territorial swaps. They will be discussed, but I've got to let Ukraine make that decision, and I think they'll make the proper decision. All right. First pictures of him boarding Air Force One 5 hours ago. And let's see, who's it? It's credited to Getty, so that may be my buddy. We'll have to watch the show tonight and see. So, and in the first footage of him, he doesn't do video, so I know that's not him. Who will be joining him? Well, Mark Rubio, Secretary Scott Bessent, Secretary Howard Lutnick, Director John Ratcliffe, Susie Wiles, James Blair, Bo Harrison, Nick Luna, Dan Savino, Stephen Chung, Robert Gabriel, Carolyn Levitt, of course, Will Scharf, Ross Worthington, Ambassador Steve Witkoff, and Ambassador Monica Crowley. The most notable person missing is the vice president, who is still holidaying in the UK. Well, I don't think they should be together. I think this would be a bad time to have them together. And he had a 2-word warning as he makes way to Alaska. High stakes. Well, it's correct. And Carolyn Levitt signals she's en route to Alaska to post on Instagram. Pictures showing the sunrise behind the White House, the timestamp of 6:33. Day trip, let's do it. That's a day trip? Good Lord. And then he departed 7 hours ago. They were expected to meet in Anchorage starting at 11 a.m., which is 3 p.m. our time. And the Russian government plane, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that, lands in Russia. It touched down at Elmendorf ahead of the planned meeting of the Don and the Vlad in Anchorage. The flight is significant because the aircraft cannot enter the U.S. airspace without specific diplomatic exemptions. According to Aviation, A2Z departed Russia at 7:50 local time. It traveled across Russian airspace over the East Siberian Sea and across the Bering Sea before entering U.S. airspace. Arrival at the Air Force was scheduled for around 6:40 local. It is still unconfirmed whether Vlad was aboard or not, but his timing suggested it could be linked to the summit. Well, there's a good chance. And Putin spotted en route, that was 8 hours ago. He stopped at a memorial for American soldiers that were killed during the big war and placed some flowers. I saw that. So I hope he's here coming in peace. So there we go. That's we're going to get into more on this because we know that they just love carrying it. In fact, we'll probably even take a look and see where the Don is. And Chris says, of course the Clintons are nominating for the Peace Prize on the day being the world's greatest day. This day is all about me, Trump. I guess they had to get a headline. I don't know. If he does, gosh, why do I keep pushing that button? If he does get it, I hope that they do. We need more adults in charge that don't just start cussing each other. So we can find peace in everybody. You can find something good in everyone. All right. So troops in DC are helping with monument security and area beautification. Pentagon officials had few details to offer about the National Guard's role in the unprecedented deployment. 800 Army and Air National Guardsmen began their mission in DC early Wednesday, helping the city's temporarily federalized police through monument security, community safety patrols, protecting federal facilities, officers, traffic control posts, and area beautification, according to Pentagon spokeswoman Kingsley Wilson. This includes presence on the national malls, though she said she did not answer questions about specific crimes the Trump administration's believe need to be stamped out near the monuments and museums. It's dangerous all around the city, she said. I think another important part of having National Guardsmen all around D.C. is that it's also a deterrent and it makes people feel safe and lets everybody know that D.C. is going to be a city in which we can be proud of, and we are standing alongside our federal partners to execute the president's directive. Guardsmen from a variety of military specialties, not just military police, have been tapped for the mission. A defense official who was not authorized to speak on the record told reporters troops will neither be armed nor have weapons in their vehicle, the official said, though they will be assisting law enforcement. The officials didn't know yet whether the troops would be patrolling alongside police or would be in close enough communication to signal them if a threat occurred. The Guard hasn't been tasked with arresting suspects or other law enforcement functions. Their state active duty designation would allow for that should the president order it. The designation is distinct from the federalized deployments of Guardsmen in D.C. during the summer of 20 and 21, when troops helped with crowd control, but were specifically barred from performing law enforcement functions. They will remain until law and order has been restored in the district, as determined by the president, standing as the gatekeepers of our great nation's capital. She did not say how the restorations of law and order would be measured in a Monday press conference. His takeover of D.C. police and the Guard deployment President Trump offered false and exaggerated crime statistics to justify his actions. Once again, please do your homework. This comes to us from Defense One and by Megan Myers, a staff reporter. Please do your homework. Even a simple little dumb podcaster in the South can find that out, that is not a true statement. False and exaggerated crime statistics. That is not a true statement. The internal affairs of Metropolitan D.C. Police are investigating their own commanders who have falsified records so they can get promotions and pay raises. So that is a known thing that the mainstream media just doesn't like to talk about. This week, a U.S. District Court heard testimony in Newsom versus Trump, which was brought by the state of California against the administration's controversial deployment of some 4,700 guardsmen and Marines to Southern California. The presiding judge has yet to rule on the suit. And catch up here. Hello, Chris or KG. Welcome. Glad you're here. I'm glad you made it. We always enjoy having you over here. You give good comments to the chat. And Chris has reminded me to like and share to see the picture of the adorable Megan Myers, who wrote the latest story. Yeah. Well, Megan Myers needs to learn to do a little bit more homework. Like I said, some little podcaster. And the KG says the DC police chief is being torn apart in news from around the globe. Well, it's because they were falsifying documents. It's going to come out, but the mainstream media probably won't publish it. This is a question I asked Yergs. FBI Director Kash Patel said early Fridays that agents in the agency's partner made more than 18 arrests in D.C. overnight, bringing the total to 120 since President Trump announced the federal officials were taking over the district's police force. 18 more arrests with the federal partners last night in Washington, D.C. 8 firearms recovered from criminals. Isn't that a good thing? Multiple seizures of illegal drugs. Isn't that a good thing? One was arrested for a warrant for a murder, another for rape. We now have over 120 arrests. Isn't that a good thing? The good cops are getting the job done, Patel posted on X. The statistics come after U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi named the Drug Enforcement Administrator Terry Cole as the new D.C. Emergency Police Commissioner. That's going to get some lawsuits going. Local officials, such as D.C. Attorney Brian Schwab, have pushed back, saying the Home Rule Act, under which Trump put the city police under federal control, does not allow to alter its chain of command. Under the Home Rule Act, well, it jumped, didn't it? Under the Home Rule Act, Trump can only take federal control for 30 days, but he is now asking for a vote to extend. And again, we think the Democrats will do anything to stop crime, but we think the Republicans will do it almost unanimously. Hold on, I'm going to read that again. And again, we think the Democrats will not do anything to stop crime, but we think the Republicans will do it almost unanimously. Trump told reporters at the Kennedy Center on Thursday, so we're going to need a crime bill that we're going to be putting in, and it's going to pertain initially to D.C. We're going to use it in a very positive example. Yeah, parts of it were leaked with a task force. I forget what the name of it was. Quick Reaction Task Force or something that could go into other cities. Not sure how that'll work, but that's still to be determined. Whistleblowers have leaked it. Democrats, however, stress the D.C. crime statistics do not illustrate excessive violence in the districts cited by Trump. Crime is down by 26% when compared to 2024. Last year, we saw a 32% drop in homicides. Okay, they've had over 100 homicides this year. There's 100 people, residents of your city, who have died to criminals. That should be zero. The White House earlier said this week 1,600 personnel were involved in law enforcement operations, making 45 arrests Wednesday. The Pentagon said 800 Army and National Guard troops would be mobilized on the ground by Thursday. The National Guard cannot make arrests, but will collaborate, well, good Lord, with the local law enforcement. Moreover, the Metropolitan Police Department will assist immigrations and customs enforcement, ICE, in conducting mass deportations around the district. once again, anytime we get a bad guy off the street, that's a good thing. I don't understand the problem. Chris writes, he should be ticketed for that murder warrant, right, Yergs? Wendell says, not if you're a Democrat. Criminals are their best friends. Wow, Wendell's yelling. He's angry about that. A suspicious white powder at the New York City ICE office is deemed non-hazardous after evacuation. This comes to us from 13 KRCG. New York City, a suspicious white powder sent to the Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Office on Thursday was deemed non-hazardous after forcing the building to evacuate, according to Mayor Adams. 5 letters containing a, quote, unknown white powder were found in the mailroom of enforcement and removal operations at 26 Federal Plaza, FBI Assistant Director of the New York Field Office said in a press conference. Our Weapons of Mass Destructions and Hazardous Material Agency response team immediately responded to the scene. Mayor Adams said preliminary results indicate there were no dangerous substances involved. Let's be clear. Okay. I'm just going to ask a question because I actually have personal firsthand experience with this. Let's say that was just salt, powdered sugar, a white cooking substance. Should that be a crime for sending it, or should we, you just get a ticket? Let's be clear, this is still a serious crime, and the FBI, I'm told, is going to conduct the investigation. Mayor Adams continued in a statement reviewed by WABC, and anything we can do to assist, we will. This was a crime. It should not have happened, and we're going to make sure the person responsible will be brought to justice. The 5 envelopes were sent to FBI headquarters Quantico for testing, according to authorities. The building and the headquarters for the FBI, where the immigration court is held, where agents have detained immigrants after routine hearings. Anti-ICE protesters were arrested outside during last Friday over allegations of overcrowding and poor conditions. On Tuesday, a federal judge ruled to block the Trump administration from using its hold immigrations facing deportations unless conditions are improved. Judge Kaplan ordered ICE to reduce the number of detainees to a 10-floor holding cell and allow immigrants to call lawyers to ensure access to proper medical and hygienic care, the Times reported. So I have a personal experience with this. Many of you know I worked in Atlanta, and one of the areas right around from my Station 15, where I was also a hazmat team member with Station 19, was the Customs and Immigration building, was the IRS building. Of course, the CDC was there too. I responded to multiple calls for white powder substances. The majority of them were usually something benign, like table salt, white powder from cooking substances like flour, things like that. But let's be clear, we had to respond and we had to totally evacuate, set up perimeters, decontaminate. It was a very big deal. So it was a crime. Even though it was a common food product, it was still a crime. So if you throw a sub at a police officer, that's crime. Chris writes, isn't it a crime if you just try to pass counterfeit currency? Yes. And people have been arrested that have went to like stores and gotten money from banks and didn't know. So yeah, it's a crime. And some people have gotten caught up in that. That usually happens at like your Weigels, your QTs, your 7-Elevens, your racetracks, your Quick Stops, that type of thing is where they usually get caught. They try and go there and launder them off. This was breaking earlier as we came on the air. It was reported as an explosion, but now we have an update on it. 3 firefighters injured on in the fire on the Upper East Side. The fire started just before 10 a.m. Videos show thick columns of black smoke rising. This is in Upper East Side, New York. 3 firefighters were injured Friday when a 3-alarm fire broke out at a rooftop on the Upper East Side, according to FDNY. The fire started before 10 a.m. on the roof, which is a 7-story apartment building between 2nd and 1st. Deputy Assistant Chief said the fire spread to the cockloft and into 3 penthouses on the top floor of the building before firefighters were able to contain the blaze. No other buildings were affected. 3 firefighters suffered minor injuries. Videos on X show thick black smoke rising over the block, with one quoting, "Something just exploded on East 95th Street," and then black smoke. FDNY said approximately 170 firefighters and other emergency responders went to the scene. Because the blaze remains under investigations. So, yeah, that was a breaking news story. There was an explosion in the Upper East Side with a 3-alarm fire. It's now extinguished, and they're investigating. And we kind of covered this. Oh, not that button. This button, dummy. We kind of talked about this a second ago. Washington, D.C. Attorney General sues to stop federal takeover of the police department. Washington, D.C. Attorney General Brian Schwab has filed a lawsuit challenging the president's attempt to take control of the district police department in a move to likely escalate the tension between the city's leadership and the Trump administration. He said the lawsuit filed in a federal court in Washington aims to get the court to rule that Trump's takeover of the city's police department is illegal. It came just hours after the U.S. Attorney General issued an order transferring control of the police department from the city to the DEA leader Terry Cole, whom Bondi tapped to serve the MPD's emergency response commissioner. Trump said on Monday, hundreds of guardsmen in Washington are temporarily taking over the city's police department to curb what he depicted as a crime emergency in the U.S. Capitol. And then once again, they go on to cite that statistics show it's dropped. Tell it to the 100 family members that are missing people. As part of the action, federal law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, DEA, Customs and Borders, ICE, and they're going to patrol the streets. In fact, ICE, if you went online and looked, ICE posted some badass pictures of their new vehicles, all American made, all Fords, everything from trucks to vans. They were pretty badass looking. Bondi's orders late Thursday said the city must receive approval from Cole before it can issue any directives to the Washington police force. It also sought to rescind several of the police department's prior directives, including one addressed its level of involvement with the federal immigration enforcement. Justice Department spokesman said they did not have any immediate comment on the lawsuit's claims, which called Bondi's actions a brazen usurpation of the district's authority over its own government. So there you go. They're usurping it. All right, let's get silly for a minute before we get into even wackier stuff. If you're a Harry Potter fan and a donut fan, well, guess what? You're in luck. Krispy Kreme is revealing 5 new Harry Potter-inspired donuts that will put a spell on you. I don't understand this, but okay. The 5 new donuts are going to be available starting Monday. 4 donuts are dedicated to the Hogsworth houses and 1 donut inspired by the Sorting Hat. Fans who dress up in theme of the Hogwarts houses can get a free original glazed dozen. Getting matched with your Hogwarts house has never been sweeter. Starting on Monday, Potterheads, is that what they're called, can get their hands on 5 brand new Krispy Kreme donuts that are inspired by the Harry Potter movie. All right, so, or the Harry Potter's theme. This donut for Harry, Hermione, and I'm not. One is got a cookie butter flavored cream. It is dipped in red icing. Oh, that's good for you. And Biscoff cookie crumble being topped the golden icing. And another one is a chocolate and green buttercream topped with the original donut glaze and has a cookie sugar coating topping. And another has a white butter toffee flavored custard dipped in yellow icing, drizzled with chocolate and cookie crunch. Okay, there you go. So you can get your Harry Potter fix and your Harry Potter donuts. So I can just see the nerds going in there now. Isn't that helping with their diabetes if they dress up and go in there? It's helping with their diabetes and going to make them even more obese. So Quindle said, did they just want new toys? All right. This was trending, and I'm not really sure why, but apparently this comes to us from the mothership. A drunk Rolls-Royce driver, she's 23, crashes into a car in Sydney, and it leaves the man with a broken spine. The 23-year-old Rolls-Royce driver was allegedly drunk, crashed her car into a Mercedes in Sydney, causing the Mercedes driver to be seriously injured. The incident, which occurred on July 26 around 3:30 a.m., happened when the Rolls-Royce driver Yang Ladlan collided with a Mercedes that George Polaris was driving. He is a radio host, apparently. Kyle Sandlins was the chauffeur. Yang was not injured. The drunks never are. However, the accident in the New South Head Road in Rose Bay left Placeras seriously injured, broke his spine, both hips, both femurs. He had to be cut from the vehicle before being taken to St. Vincent's in stable condition. Sandlins, 54, addressed the crash on the Kyle and Jackie show and said, "Well, that was my driver, George." Sandlins praised Placeras for being a great employee, as even the crash asked for his phone. Good Lord, I can't pronounce all these names. The Rose Bay incident told newscom.au that he was lying in bed at the time of the accident when he heard a loud bang. It set off alarms of nearby shock. The sonic boom from the crash was that strong. When he ran outside, he saw the Mercedes driver conscious and moving, though the car was absolutely smashed to pieces. One of his neighbors had already called for help. He added that Yang was standing on the street in pure shock. Now, this is the mystery. While Yang's background may be a mystery, according to news.com.au, she appears to be very wealthy. Other than her car involved in a crash, she reportedly also owns a white Rolls-Royce Ghost convertible. United Daily News reported that according to local residents, her house is filled with branded limited edition items, even though they allegedly that they have not seen her ever working. According to the registration for her Rolls-Royce, it was a 2025 model. It ranks in the 4th ultimate luxury SUV, and its manufacturer's MSRP is somewhere around $500,000. According to the police, a roadside breathalyzer test that Yang allegedly took returned a positive result. She was filmed being escorted from the scene in a luxury outfit that included Chanel shoes, a Chanel two-piece, and Me bucket hat, according to news.com.au. She left Waverly Police Station later that morning dressed in the same outfit. She was charged with causing bodily harm by misconduct, in charge of motor vehicle, and refusal or failure to submit to a breath analysis. She was given conditional bail to appear before Downing Center local court on August 15th. Okay, that's today. Her bail conditions included not driving or leaving the penthouse between the hours of 8 p. and 6 a. If found guilty, she may be ordered to pay for his medical and vehicle costs. Well, all right. Wendell says, watch your language. And Chris says, I hope Catherine on Big Brother is careful. Raleigh has no Hogwarts. Seriously. And by the way, Chris, Rachel is the HOH, if you're interested. All right, this comes to us out of Missouri, 100.9 The Eagle. Missouri sees same odd nuke sniffer flight happen twice. A WC-135 Constant Phoenix plane, codenamed Cobra 31, was spotted flying over Missouri twice this week. As a Tom Clancy fan, I keep close tabs on the Doomsday planes that the U.S. military utilizes to provide our country airborne command and control in the event of a catastrophe or surprise enemy attack. The WC-135 is a plane that is designed to, quote, collect samples from the atmosphere for the purpose of detecting and identifying nuclear explosions. I saw one of the WC-135 Constant Phoenixes fly over Missouri on Monday, and you can see in a picture here captured on Flight Radar 24. It flew a strange path from Offutt Air Force Base in southeastern Nebraska over northwestern Missouri near Maryville, not far from St. Joseph's. But wait, there's more. Today, here we go, New York Prepper on YouTube, oh, gotta love that guy, noticed that this same plane flew a path directly over St. Louis, continuing all the way across Missouri again. Coincidence? Well, let's hope so. The timing is unusual, however, with the presidential meeting with Putin on August 15th. Here's why that's not a crisis. The location of the Air Force Base means Missouri sees more than its fair share of the Doomsday plane, since any path from the southeast takes these planes over Missouri when returning to their home base, with the B-2 stealth bomber fleet making their home at Whitman Air Force Base in Missouri. It's one of the most active states in the country for this type of activity. And they go on to talk about how they do 30-hour missions and they fly in secrecy. I did not know this, but there is a it's a lavatory, a bathroom on these flights. I did not know that. I mean, I guess that's true. And they are allowed to take brief 15 to 20 minute naps. Actually, even have microwave meals on these bombers. So, turkey sandwiches. And there you can see it's like the captain's unconscious in that picture. So, both pilots must be ready to take over in seconds. So, food planning and naps are done in planned shift as the missions allow. That's fascinating. I really didn't realize they were that big, and I didn't realize they had thought about the crews that much. But the B-2 apparently has a small lavatory, and they are allowed to take naps, and there's a galley where they can get microwave meals and turkey sandwiches. Did not know that. Chris is very, very interested and intrigued by that. Well, me too. I did not know that. All right, so this comes to us from overseas, and we're just going to keep our conspiracy hats on for a bit longer. The Kremlin warns nuclear weapons on full combat alert as Trump could take Putin hostage. Yes, that is a correct headline. Comes to us from London Loves Business this morning at 11:39 a.m. local. Kremlin warns that they could be kidnapping Putin. Yeah. Kremlin-backed media has claimed that the U.S. president could hold the Vlad hostage as they are due to meet in Alaska on Friday evening to discuss ending the war in Ukraine. A pro-Putin outlet commented that they have claimed the meeting between Putin and Trump could be a catalyst for a full-scale world war. She said that Putin is hostage number one, considering the current international situation. It is entirely possible the Russian leader could be taken as hostage. This comes as the ICC issued an international arrest warrant for the Russian dictator for the unlawful deportation of Ukrainian children to Russia. Moscow said that is outrageous. The ICC also issued an arrest warrant for the Russian Commissioner for Children's Rights and Maria Belova for the same war crime. In July 2022, former President Dmitry Medvedev warned that the existence of mankind is under threat and the ICC should be careful attacking a country who has the largest nuclear potential. He pointed out that the ICC, that they have never punished the U.S. for their global aggression, and they should refrain from trying to legal void actions against Moscow, and he potentially threatens the existence of mankind. He branded the U.S. as a daredevil or an idiot, accusing them of trying to sow chaos and destruction through the ICC. Despite certain periods of Trump's ostentatious friendly rhetoric towards Putin, public squabbles with Zelensky, and reassuring articles in the Western press about Washington allegedly planning to surrender Kyiv, in reality, the flow of American military aid to the Ukraine regime has not stopped for a single day. This raises a key question. What will Moscow do if force majeure occurs during the negotiations overseas and his attempt is made to hold the Russian president against his will? Such a step would automatically become a casus belli, I don't know what the hell that means, an indisputable reason to start a war. Against the backdrop of the threat of an outright direct attack on a president, the Russian military command will most likely put its strategic defenses, missile systems, aircraft fleets, including nuclear weapons, on full combat alert. He added that should this happen, it would be a catalyst for a scale world war, as he claims India and China will not remain modestly silent on the sidelines. The Kremlin is warning Trump that could have Putin arrested, that there's an international arrest warrant for the Russian dictator that was issued by the International Criminal Court, the ICC, even though America does not abide by the ICC. He said an attempt to arrest Putin will formally be considered a pretext for open war. Any forces participating in or supporting the arrest will automatically become targets for retaliatory actions. Any such move by the U.S. will not go without immediate, comprehensive, and extremely harsh response from Russia. The diplomacy and sanctions to threats and demonstrations of military power. So they're throwing out conspiracy theories overseas, saying that we're going to try and take Putin hostage. I don't get that. All right. Chris says Trump could just tell Putin he's fired, like on The Apprentice. Putin wouldn't see that coming. You're fired. Hold on. That's a good thing, Chris. I got a thing for that. I thought I did. Maybe I don't. All right. Well, I thought I had a Trump.
I'm going to come.
Oh, no, that's not the right button. All right, I'll stop playing. So, well, it is the top of the hour. I do have a button to push, and I'm not going to come. So here we go. Let's play this commercial.
You're listening to a Dare Media Group and Mastiff Media radio station. From Dare Media Group, Radio X Gold, Radio X Country, 6RXM, Radio X Magic, and Dare Talk Radio. And from Mastiff Media, Yerg's Radio, Rainbow Radio, Right Talk Radio, Forward Radio, Mastiff Sports, and Shady News Radio. For more information, visit daremediagroup.com.au or mastiff.medias.
You're tuned to the Sportcat Show.
That's right. Okay, we paid our bills. We can get on with this show. Okay, I find this interesting. We're about to hop out of the news and get to our normal thing. But I find this extremely interesting because this comes out of Fox 8, Cleveland. And this is the only source I could find for this article. I could not find any other sourcing, any other article on this. So my question is, why is a Cleveland station reporting this? It should not WNBC or not WRC, WABC, any of the affiliates in Washington, D.C. be reporting this? I just found that very odd. The U.S. Secret Service will conduct a routine active threat exercise at the White House complex Friday night, the agency announced. The drill is scheduled to take place from 8 p. to 1 a. Members of the public may hear simulated gunfire, see increased law enforcement presence in and around the White House complex during the exercise. The agency said in a press release, the agency emphasized that the training is routine and not in response to any specific threat. And I just find that extremely odd that Cleveland Fox 8 is the only one reporting this. That's just very odd to me when there's so many news agencies in Washington, D.C. So, all right, we got our tinfoil hats on for just a few, good Lord, for a few minutes longer here. This comes to us from Yahoo News. The Globe. Harvard University researchers suggest aliens are already on Earth, a report that was removed from the web. Extraterrestrials are already here on Earth, disguised as humans, are living in secret bases hidden underground, or even the far side of the moon, according to a new scientific paper from the Ivy League eggheads at Harvard University. Per Newsweek, the eyebrow-raising scholarly report suggests aliens are concealed in stealth, or even walking amongst us in civilization that made their home on Earth a long time ago, or maybe they are time travelers from the future. We're not saying this is right. We're not saying this is absolutely 100%. The Montana Technological University professor Michael Masters tells CBS, who co-authored the paper with the Harvard researchers. We're saying that these are some potentials That would explain the many UFO sightings that have been logged over the decades by our military fighters and civilian observers. As the Globe has previously reported, the Pentagon is currently investigating some 1,650 sightings of UFOs, with close to half of those coming between May of 2023 and June of 2024. That's CNN statistics. Military brass denied that any of those were alien origin, despite some craft performing aerial feats that defy the limits of modern technology and even physics. But mysteriously, the paper was taken down from ResearchGate, the online platform for scientific papers, shortly after its publication. UFO hunters are alleging a cover-up. Oh, there you go. Dr. Bill Burns, author of the UFO in White House, has claimed for years that aliens that look just like humans have been living secretly on Earth. I looked at his book. I'm going to try and actually see if I can get him to come on one of my shows. He exclusively tells Globe that he believes ETs first evolved on distant planets before traveling to Earth and colonizing our planet millions of years ago. They've been hiding ever since. He says, I believe they have infiltrated the highest reaches of government across the globe. Burns encountered a mysterious French defense official while he was investigating UFO reports for the History Channel UFO Hunter show. He says the man told him, we are here. We've been here for millions of years. He said he looked just like us. He was human. There you go. And then the Huffington Post had the secrets from UFOs and aliens were removed from the Bible. And that came out yesterday because of Representative Anna Luna when she was on Joe Rogan. So there you go. You can read all about that, go in depth with it. But yeah, there's one of your tinfoil hat things. And well, here we're going to have another one. And this involves something near and dear to me. Wendell says there, okay, hold on. All right, so hold on. Let's see. KG says Secret Service warning wasn't on any DC local news today. Right, KG? Right? I didn't look for a press release. And Wendell says they are in Alaska now. Okay, well, we'll get an update on that. Remain calm, Wendell. Stop yelling. And Chris says, you get to put out a paper as an expert, get free press coverage for it, and say, yeah, this might be complete bullshit. Pick a lane, stop hedging your bet, Professor. Isn't that the thing? You're hedging your bet. That's the thing. All right, so this conspiracy theory really blows me away because it involves something near and dear to me, my Mountain Dew. A viral theory is linking major tragedies to new Mountain Dew flavors. A shocking conspiracy theory about Mountain Dew is going viral as the company rolls out its new permanent flavor, Baja Midnight, and it's got some people freaking out. The so-called Mountain Dew conspiracy theory claims that the release of new Mountain Dew flavors always precedes a major tragedy, and evidence might have you reaching for your tinfoil hat. So what exactly is the Mountain Dew conspiracy theory and where did it come from? And this is a post on X where it shows Taco Bell launching at midnight last night, the new Baja Midnight. The Mountain Dew conspiracy theory first made waves on social media in February of 2025 when content creator Ro Fisher discussed it on an episode of his podcast. The episode, he links the release of new Mountain Dew flavors to several major tragedies. He even claims that the names of the flavors hint at the tragedies months before they happened. He starts by claiming that Mountain Dew Code Red came out 3 months before the September 11th attack, painting September 11th as the, quote, ultimate Code Red. But it doesn't end there. He claims that the Maui Burst flavor was released 3 months before the wildfires at Maui's broke out, and that the Star Spangled Splash was released before the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed. Notably, Francis Scott Key wrote the Star Spangled Banner. A clip of him explaining the theory went viral that month, and now it's beginning to spread online. So, it's spreading right now online wildly and is bizarrely convincing. since going viral in February. It's been discussed by many, including me, and I'm probably going to do some more homework on this because it is kind of, well, curious. Most recently, it was picked apart by YouTubers, food theorists, who decided to look into claims and made the theory that they found while the majority of the releases did strangely precede major tragedy, there's some debate to be had about certain flavors. Most notably, the question that claims about the release of the Star Spangled Splash and the Francis Scott Key after the collapse. So, yeah. So I'm going to do some homework in this one. I don't know. I'm confused. So and I have yet to, I don't even know what the flavor is. So, and I didn't go try it, but now that there's a conspiracy theory about it out, I just might go do it. So, all right. So there's your tinfoil hat loving stuff that we have for the day. And Chris is claiming the company is responsible for doing all of these things. Good one, Chris. I like that. That's a good one. I'll have to use that, Chris. So I'll look into that because there's probably an expert somewhere. I read somewhere that CIA operatives were actually employed by Mountain Dew. So it got me thinking. So, all right. So here we go on the FEMA Daily Operations News Briefing. That was presented to the president this morning, Friday, August 15th, 8:30 a.m., as he was aboard Air Force One. New incidents that they're watching. Tropical Storm Erin. She's going to be affecting the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. Excessive rainfall, flash flooding in the upper Mississippi Valley to the Great Lakes. Severe thunderstorms in the upper Mississippi Valley to the Great Lakes. And then, of course, we have the tropical activity with Erin. And there's also a second disturbance, Disturbance 1. So there was new declaration activity approved for the Idaho Sunset Fire. And there are no new significant events aside from Tropical Storm Erin. It's affecting the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico. Tropical Storm Erin is located east of the northern Leeward Islands, is likely to become a hurricane today, forecast to become a major hurricane over the weekend, with the center of the storm moving north of Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Rainfalls totaling 2 to 4 inches with isolated totals. Whoa, that was crazy. With isolated totals of 6 inches are expected to bring rains and flash flooding in urban areas this weekend into next week over southern and eastern Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. In anticipation of any impacts to U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, FEMA headquarters and FEMA Region 2 continue to monitor and prepare support in response to efforts related to the storm surge, landfall, and impacts. And so the Puerto Rico EOC is currently monitoring. The Virgin Islands EOC is at normal operations, but will activate today. FEMA Regional Response, Region 2 is monitoring. And they went live at 7 a.m. to 7 p. And the IMAT team will be deployed to St. Croix. And I have to look up to see what the IMAT team is. They're specialists. I remember that. And the National Weather Center is monitoring 24/7. And we go down there. The U.S. Search and Rescue Red First Light Package will arrive in San Juan on August 14th. That was yesterday. And they've pre-moved. We have to Google some of these acronyms because I don't even know what they are. So logistically, there's 35 generators staged at the ballpark in Puerto Rico and 12 generators to St. Croix, 9 to St. Thomas, and the National ISB Alpha team will deploy more to the Virgin Islands to accept generators. So, and there's already several teams already deployed. All right. The tropical outlook, nothing in the Pacific, the Central and Eastern Pacific, Atlantic, we still have Erin. And of course, this disturbance is just sitting there being annoying. They don't really think it's going to form, but it's annoying down there. All right, so for the national forecast, this is for today through Sunday. We look and see that Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa are all under the severe thunderstorms with heavy rains and flooding. And then down in Arizona at the border and Texas at the border, there could be some heavy rains and flash flooding. We can anticipate along the Gulf Coast to have some tidal surge, spotty rains going over to the Atlantic coast, where they're anticipating some heavy rains moving from the Carolinas up through the Chesapeake Bay region and later into New England. And tomorrow, those heavy storms are not going to move a whole lot. They're going to cover Wisconsin and Michigan fairly well and stay there with heavy rains and flash flooding. And then they're going to, once again on Sunday, move slightly to the east, but it's not going to do much to help where the heavy rains are up there in the northeast. So the hazardous weather outlooks are heavy rain in the northeast. And then, of course, we have the heat here in the south. That's going to get us, the heat's going to be high in the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. And then heavy rain down on the border of Mexico with Texas, Arizona. So there are no hazards expected in Alaska. The Sunset Fire in Idaho is 0% contained. Region 10 acting administrator approved a fire management assistant grant for the Sunset Fire, which has burned 1,600 acres with 0% containment. It's burning on federal, state, and private land near the Carywood, Idaho, which has a population of 510. One Red Cross shelter is open with 22 occupants. Fire is also threatening a communications facility, a fire station, the Little Black Mountain HOA Water District, and the U.S. Naval Acoustic Laboratory. So they're going to be watching that fire. There's still several fires burning in Utah and Colorado. We look at the overall operating picture, and FEMA is spread thin with 17 joint field offices, 64 major disasters, plus 7 emergency declarations. We're still working to rehouse and direct house 12 missions. And then there's 9 other supported missions with 6 joint recovery offices around the lower 48 in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. And let's see, this is just things that are in progress from old incidents. Nothing new besides for the severe flooding and rain in Illinois, in Indiana, and then the fires and tornadoes in Kansas. Those are damage assessments they're working on at this time. All right, well, let's look at the president's schedule, but we'll go back in time a little bit to see what he has done, what he did yesterday, because we went off air at about 3, and we see yesterday, well, no, that's Friday. Okay. Let's see. A lunch lid was called at 11:27, and then the sticks where we talked about that, and then him delivering remarks in the Oval Office. I didn't follow up to see what that was. All right. So Friday, 6 a.m., early time for the press to be there, both the in-pool and out-of-town pool. 6:45 a.m., the president departed the White House en route to Anchorage. At 3 o'clock, he will participate in a bilateral program with the president of the Russian Federation, which is 11 a.m. local. At 9:45, he's departing Anchorage, Alaska, en route back to the White House. And so he's only going to be there for the day. It's a day trip. She was correct. Let's see here. Let's skip over to this one real quick. And this is, what is this? So this is the path that Air Force One took, and we see that it is landing, or it has landed. Let's see, what is it? Nope, it's on the ground, I believe. So they have landed at the Air Force, or at the Air Force Base in Alaska. So that was the flight path they took. I tracked it just to see, and it's interesting. It went, well, does it say how many thousands of miles that was? No, it doesn't. I wish it did. But it is currently on the ground, so he has landed in Alaska. So we'll check with news media and see what they have there. But I tracked it earlier. I didn't know if he would still be in air while we were there or not, but he apparently is on the ground safely. So that's good news. All right, so I will close that window. We'll go back over here, and we will update this and make it full screen. All right, so their NBC is carrying it live. I'm sure you can find it on any media channel. And President Trump is meeting face-to-face with Russian Vladimir Putin this afternoon for a summit that could reshape the war in Ukraine and relations between Moscow and Washington. Trump told European leaders this week that his goal is to secure a ceasefire, and he does not intend to discuss any possible divisions or territories. Days earlier, though, he said he would be, quote, land swapping between Russia and Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia attacked Ukraine overnight with missiles and drones ahead of the summit. Ukraine strikes injured 12 in Russia's Kursk and Belgrade regions. An escalation of the political standoff over Texas redistricting attempts that would give the GOP 5 new seats, California Governor Gavin Newsom officially asked voters to approve a new congressional map. And 58 minutes ago, ex-commander of the U.S. Army is in Europe, has very low expectations for the summit. And an hour ago, Trump said he would walk if Putin meeting doesn't go well. And then Putin's press secretary predicts the summit could take 6 or 7 hours. 2 hours ago, Texas legislator gavels first special sessions to close with next one expected as soon as today. If you're following that story, I haven't really followed it too much because it's just crazy. And we talked about who is traveling. Well, he was, of course, accompanied by CIA Director John Ratcliffe, top White House aides, and chief of staff. And then the Middle East envoy is also going. And let's see. Putin will be joined by 5 senior Russian officials at the summit, offering clues about what's on the agenda. So Alaska Governor Dunleavy says the world is watching. In an interview this morning on Fox News, Alaska Governor Mike Dunleavy said it's really just peace that I think we're all looking at. Dunleavy, who's a Republican, added that it's a great idea for the president to meet him, and it makes sense for a meeting to take place in Alaska, given its location. In terms of the state, obviously it's about peace. If we can get this thing taken care of and wrapped up with President Trump, President Putin, and then President Zelensky, I think it bodes well for the world. But my understanding is right now it's going to be President Trump and Putin meeting and setting the groundwork. So, all right, there you go. And we talked about the D.C. Attorney General who is suing the Trump administration. And then 5 hours ago, he was on his way to Alaska. That was a short flight. I would have think it took much longer than that. But then again, we don't know the altitude or speed at which the plane travels. So 5 hours, that's pretty good time. And Paul Whelan, a Marine who was wrongfully detained in Russia, says the Alaskan summit is a, quote, fool's errand. Okay, well, shut out of Alaska's summit. Ukrainians anxiously await the Trump-Putin fallout, and Ukrainians are skeptical that they will meet anything. And apparently 7 hours ago, a Russian foreign minister arrived in Alaska wearing a USSR pullover. Why is that news? So what does it wear? And of course, we talked about overnight strikes between the two, tit for tat. So, all right, there you go. That's the update. I didn't see anything else, but he is on the ground according to the Flight Aware tracker. And we will leave that. And we'll go to the National Weather Service's daily briefing. And this is pretty much the same as what we talked about. They only show that the Dakotas and Nebraska are now with the possibility of severe thunder, with that heaviest of it being centered somewhere between Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa, just to the southwest. Is that right? Southwest of the Great Lakes, extending over almost to Wyoming. So they have enhanced the chance of severe thunderstorms for South Dakota, Nebraska. So if you have a weather radio, please keep it on and be prepared. South Dakota, man, God love you up there in South Dakota. In both Dakotas, you've been getting hammered the past few weeks. So you're going to continue to get hammered today. And that extensive heavy rain is going over towards the Great Lakes and going to get Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa, part of Illinois. So hang tight, and the spotty showers are going to be persistent throughout the country, particularly along the East Coast from the Chesapeake down to the Georgia-Florida line. And in the Gulf is going to expect some higher tides. Catch up on comments here. Chris states, the world was also watching for the past 4 years when the guy in charge had no idea what planet he was on, but the media's told us we weren't seeing what we saw. Now, I guess it's different. Agreed. Nothing to say here. I can't take long walks to have summits. All right, so for Sunday, we're going to see the rain continue up through the Chesapeake, up into New England area, back over to the Great Lakes. The heavy rainfall is going to continue in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa. And the Dakotas, you're not quite out of it yet, but you are getting clear towards Sunday. So let's hope that Dakotas don't get flooded. We see here, this comes to us. I like to look at this map because this shows us a difference between the NATO cast and the NOAA, but they're both predicting that the chance of tornadoes in Wisconsin, Michigan is 2% today. I wouldn't rule it out being higher with the summer heat. I'm sorry, they listed it, at 15% and 5% back over to the west. The chances of the high winds is what's going to precipitate them. The hail chances are greater today for the Great Lakes region, back over to Wyoming, both of South Dakota and Nebraska as well. So I have no idea what the hell that noise was downstairs. I'm afraid to go look. So if I go off the air, suddenly you'll know what happens. All right, this is the world radar. I thought I would bring it up so we can see. The heavy rains are over on the Seattle region currently with heavy precipitation. Over on the West Coast, that disturbance is sitting down there in the Gulf of America. Erin, category 1, 70 mile an hour winds. She is just to the northeast of Angola, and she's anticipated to be over towards Puerto Rico by Saturday night. We jump down to our friends down under, and we'll see what the rainfall looks like down there. Currently in Melbourne, you're not getting a whole lot, just a trace, very light rain. Sydney, there's no precipitation. Over in Port Hedland, you might have a slight little rain, but not much. Hobart, now you're getting some light rain. So let's see. Any other places I wanted to explore? No, I think we're good here on this one. Let's go to the weather warning. What's the first thing that pops up there, Chris? Montgomery County test message. KG, do some homework and find out why that they put out a test message almost every hour. I don't understand. It seems to me that would make the citizens in Montgomery County feel less safe. I don't understand. Okay, so flood advisory in Alabama, Iowa, you have a severe thunderstorm warning. Actually, you have several of them. And you also have a heat advisory. That's also for Nebraska. Iowa and Nebraska, you have a heat advisory. And then severe thunderstorms in Alabama, North Carolina currently. And we talked about the marine weather statements along both the Gulf Coast for higher tides, and then for the Atlantic coast for high winds and surf. I think this, though, is for, this is for the Bay down in New Orleans. Gusty winds. Texas, you have a flood advisory. That's more for your southwest. Iowa, severe thunderstorm warning. How long is that one? That one's over, I think. Yeah, that one is over. That one just ended. And let's see if we have anything else down here. Yesterday, we were scrolling this. Remember, we had emergency evacuation orders for Wyoming. Chris says, crying wolf hourly doesn't seem like a great safety strategy. Agreed. I don't know. Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, heat advisory. So we're going to talk about that. Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, you have your flood watches. We've discussed that. And all these small craft advisories. Oklahoma, I just saw it. You had a heat warning. Yeah, there we go. Illinois, Iowa, Missouri heat advisories for today. And something new just popped up. Let's go up here and see what it was. It was just a test message. I thought something new just popped up. Okay, there's 2 minutes left on the test message. Wendell says, I'm going to the Tennessee Wildman Convention tomorrow. Where is it, Wendell? I didn't know about that one. Let's look at the map showing where all these things are. Yeah, Wendell, I wasn't aware of the Tennessee Wildman Convention. So, all right. So we see red flag warnings over here in Idaho. And we talked about the storms over there. Those are where the areas are today in Idaho, where the where the red flag warnings are, meaning that the chances are higher for fires. Flood watches down here in Arizona, down north of Phoenix. That's going to continue down to the south later today, causing some problems. Salt Lake City, you have some spotty showers. And over here in Tucson, back over towards the border, there's a decent cell. We look at the heat advisory. Well, it's more to the west of the Mississippi. But if you go up to the Tennessee line, back to the southeast, most of Mississippi, West Tennessee, southeast or southern Alabama, southeast Georgia, heat advisory, and well, pretty much all of the Panhandle, northern central Florida are under heat advisories for today. We look down here in New Orleans, they're seeing the remnants, or not the remnants, but the disturbance is causing the heavy rainfall and thunderstorms to push inshore. If you're working out in the Gulf of America today on an oil rig, you might want to be careful because the storms are very active in the Gulf of America. And we'll zoom up here to a severe thunderstorm warning just to the east of Sioux Falls, north of Des Moines. And there's a pretty good cell there. We'll look in a minute at the lightning activity, but that storm, it's got a lot of energy to it. So if you're in that area of, let me zoom out a little bit here, Iowa to the northern Iowa, be prepared, have your weather radio on. And up in Duluth, Minnesota, there's a pretty good cell up there. So McMinnville, Wendell, I have to look that up. I'm not sure where that is. McMinnville. I don't know where that is. And we look over here to the Atlantic and we see the predicted cone of uncertainty, but we see this right here. Could that is one of the questions. This cell, could this emerge with the oncoming storm? So keep your eyes and ears open. We'll see. The remnants of the one is way up here and out of the picture, but right there is the path of Erin. And she is currently, well, she's a pretty good sized storm right now. Wow. Yeah, she's pretty tightly formed. So she's only going to, we'll look at the dust and see how much energy she's going to pick up here in just a minute. I pulled this up because I thought this was pretty neat. This is the same map as far as weather watches and warnings, but it's worldwide. I was interested to find that. I didn't know that that was available. I just found it today. What is that? That's probably an earthquake that just occurred. Oh, green forest fire in Brazil. Okay. Well, what was the blue dot though? What is this? It's a fire in Brazil. Okay. All right. Well, why is it out in the ocean? So yeah, you can pull this up. This comes to us from Meta Blue maybe. And it is a worldwide. Okay. Thank you, Wendell. I didn't hear it ding. Maybe I don't have a messenger up. Do I have a messenger up? Why didn't it ding? Yeah, there it just dinged. I'll get a message from. Okay. All right. So, yeah, this is pretty interesting because you can see all over the world the different weather warnings as put out by the different meteorological agencies. And it's pretty fascinating. I didn't have a whole lot of time to go into it, but I'm going to make sure to bookmark this and come back to this because this is real-time warnings, just like we have in the U.S. from NOAA, but it's worldwide. So I think this is pretty cool. You can see the fires burning down in Brazil, the heavy rains in Brazil. You hop over to Africa, and we see that they've got a pretty heavy rains with a pretty large storm. You get up into Europe, and we see they're dealing with high heat. And then along the In the Middle East, there are several fires burning with heavy winds and thunderstorms. That's extending back over here into Russia, but along the Asian border, you can see high rains, high heat warnings there. In South Korea even has theirs. You can pull it up and see high heat warnings. We'll go down to Australia and see that the only warnings right now are for fires, and I won't pull it up, but that's the only warnings currently in Australia. So I thought it was pretty neat. Let's go up to Alaska and see. It looks like high surf, high wind advisories. That's to the south of Anchorage, so that shouldn't affect anything up there. But I found that very interesting. The only thing I wish, 2 active warnings for an earthquake. That's in the Alaskan Islands that chains back over towards Russia. The only thing I wish it had a daylight on it. In other words, show you where it's day and show you where it's light. But this is a pretty fascinating from Meadow Blue map. You can go find it. It's under their popular maps, weather warnings. So if you're interested in world weather, which I am, this is going to be a very great source of information. So, all right, let's move on here and see currently in the lower 48 where the largest lightning storms are at the moment. And let me make this full screen. And we see that storm up here in Iowa has got a lot of energy to the north of Des Moines, Fort Dodge area. That's the area where they were worried about the tornadic activity. And you jump up here to Duluth. It's a much smaller cell and not as tightly formed, but there is a lot of electrical activity if you're in that area. Doesn't look like there's much down in Illinois. Jump down here to Tennessee, where I am, and to the east of me, well, there's a big storm cell that's going to be coming through later today into the Appalachia, moving up to the northeast. Currently, it is sitting over Crossville, just north of I-40. So if you're traveling, Wendell, be prepared. Check out that storm's moving to the northeast. So Wendell down there for you. Looks like Gadsden, Birmingham. Oh, there's spotty showers all throughout your state, Wendell. Down in lower Alabama, from Montgomery even down to lower Alabama, back over to the Georgia line. If you're in the Atlanta metro area, that's going to be coming to the northeast later today. Over on the coast, right now it doesn't look too bad, but remember, this storm is coming into the shores later this week. Hopping up into southwest Virginia, the Carolinas, don't see much except for to the east of Asheville, just south of Marion. There's a pretty good sized cell there. Boone in the mountains, they're having a pretty decent little storm right now. And Washington, D.C., Philly, New York City. For the moment, you're in the clear. We'll look at your forecast here in a second. Hop down here to the Gulf of America and pretty much all of Louisiana and Mississippi, the lower sections from Lake Charles all the way over to Gulfport. That cell's pretty tightly formed to the west of New Orleans, southeast. It's actually all over through Metro Baton Rouge. That is a pretty intense storm. Seek shelter and keep your NOAA weather radio on. Get back to that. Orlando, it looks as though you have a pretty decent storm that's moving from Orlando to Sanford, back up to New Smyrna Beach. So if you're on the beach, be weather aware and watch for the lightning. Down in the Keys, don't have anything in Paradise. Somebody just buy me a house in the Keys. Make me a happy man. Let's look and see. You have to be a billionaire to live down there. Let's look and see. Currently, there is no power outages greater than 10,000 in the United States. When we do look at it, we see that California currently has 6,691, North Carolina 5,110, Louisiana 4,755, Colorado with 3,795, Illinois 3,478. So you can go to poweroutages.us, click on your state, and then get down to your actual local city region and see where the power outages are. It's a great resource. All right, so we're going to get into the hurricane a little bit because that's on everybody's mind. Aaron, well, Oh, Aaron, you're going to be a problem. So we see here that her winds are going to, well, they're already extending out to the west and then going to the north. Currently, the winds are only really affecting Puerto Rico and Haiti, but that is expected to move to the north. If it's going to shift back to the west is the question on everybody's mind right now. Currently, they anticipate she is, remind me, Wendell, I'll look in just a second. Currently, 8 a.m. Wednesday, she's expected to be between Bermuda and the Carolinas. So they're anticipating her to turn to the north, and she may not affect the southeast states, but if we'll see what her trek continues to be. And ahead of her, if we look and see, like I said, the cone of uncertainty, that could change at a moment's notice. That's the cone of uncertainty where Wednesday at 8 a.m., she's anticipated to be off the coast of Bermuda and off the coast of the Carolinas, situated pretty much in between, depending on how much energy she gets. We'll see how that goes. The wind, well, they're predicting that the tornadic activity of the wind is going to stay to the north of all affected areas. Rip currents, currently we're looking at moderate rip currents in the Carolinas, all the way down into Georgia, Florida, over in the Gulf of America. There's some rip currents for the Alabama, Mississippi, Florida area, and in lower Texas, also back over in the Pacific on the Southern California. Aaron is going to cause some of this to increase, so we've looked at that one. We saw the arrival time of winds not really going to affect the lower 48 at this time. Bermuda, Tuesday morning, you could start seeing, well, actually as early as Monday night going into Tuesday morning, you could start seeing some high winds. So if you're in Bermuda, please keep an eye on the track of the hurricane. Let me go back here real quick. And oh, no, that was one I wanted to read. So key messages for her. Heavy rainfall tonight. Let me make this full screen. Heavy rainfall tonight through Sunday across the northern Leeward Islands, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico. Isolated and locally considerable flash and urban flooding that could include landslide and mudslides. We're talking about Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Keep your weather radio on. Tropical storms conditions are possible for portions of the northern Leeward Islands, where tropical storm watches are in effect beginning on Saturday as the core of air passes north of those. Gusts to tropical storm force are possible, and rain bands over portions of the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico later in the weekend. While the threat of direct impacts on the Bahamas and along the east coast of the United States appear to be gradually decreasing, there will still be a significant risk of dangerous surf and rip currents along the western Atlantic beaches next week. Interest in Bermuda should continue to monitor the progress of Aaron, since there is still a risk of strong winds and heavy rain, and of course high surf through beginning this weekend going into midweek. So if you're in Bermuda, keep your weather radio on. I don't know if the Bermuda weather has a weather radio or not. I'm not sure. I need to research that. Let's look at the space weather forecast for the weekend. Not anticipating any storms. You won't be able to see the aurora in the lower 48. If President Trump, during his flight tonight, he may get to catch a glimpse of it off of his port. So that would be about the only chance in the U.S. No tsunami warnings, advisories, or threats currently for the world. And we're going to look here at temperatures and see what the forecasts are in some cities. Let's see here. So we look here to track. She's getting in that warm water later this weekend, and she's going to move up to the north of, or to the east. Good Lord, to the west of Bermuda off our east coast. Right now, Tampa, you are 92 degrees, and you're forecast to have rainy skies. You are already at your high. Charlotte, you're at 89 with your forecast cloudy, high of 90. New York City, hold on, I got to go back to DC. High of 87 is currently It's currently 89, so you're past your high. Washington, D.C., 90 degrees. That's your high. Bright and sunny for today. Boston, you can anticipate sunny skies with a high of 76. And then we'll go down here to Columbus, and it's cloudy skies with a high of 90. Louisville, currently 91 degrees, and you're anticipated to have cloudy skies. You're going to hit your peak at 93. Wendell, I'm not sure where McMinnville is. I can tell you Nashville forecast. Today, it's cloudy, high of 93. Over the weekend, sunny with a high of 97. Sunday, high of 98. So I'm not sure, Wendell, where it is in here. You're going. Oh, wait a minute. There it is. McMinnville. I see it right there. Let's pull it up for you, Wendell. So McMinnville, today, it's cloudy, and you're going to have a high of 90. Saturday, it's going to be partly cloudy, high of 93. Sunday, Wendell, you're preparing to leave, it's going to heat up with some rain, high of 96. And on your travels down through, I'm sure you'll go through Huntsville. Today it is 89 and rainy. On Saturday, 91 and partly cloudy. Sunday, high of 95. So, Wendell, on your track home, it's going to be warm. And I think you're going back down this way. So, Anniston over the weekend, high of 87 and cloudy, rainy skies. Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be cloudy and partly cloudy, highs in the 90s. And we'll go down here to Mobile, one of my favorite places as well. Rainy today with a high of 91. Over the weekend, it's going to be partly cloudy, high of 92. Goodness gracious. What did we say Atlanta was? I didn't check the Atlanta forecast. Today, spotty showers, high of 91. Over the weekend, it's going to cool off Saturday in the high 80s. Back, though, hot and sunny, 92 on Monday, 98 on Monday. Wow. Knoxville, where I'm at currently, well, it's cloudy skies, high of 91. Good Lord, it feels hotter than that already. It says it's only 88, though. Saturday, partly cloudy. Me and Ginger are going to stay indoors. 94 and 96 is a high in Knoxville over the weekend. Forget that. Let's see. I know Chris is somewhere up here. We'll just say Chicago. Well, right now it is, where'd it go? Lost it. Right now it's 86. Your forecast to be a high of 89, partly cloudy skies. And over the weekend, it's going to be somewhat rainy, but still hot in the lower 90s to mid 90s over the weekend. Let's look and see where the hot spot is right now. Did I get everybody? Denise, did I get you up here in New York? New York, it is currently 88 degrees. Well, that's past your high, and it's going to be sunny today, partly cloudy tomorrow, high of 81 and 90. It's going to be cloudy or clear skies and 90 degrees. Yeah, yes, it is. But Denise, let's see where the hot spot is in the U.S. right now. I'm not sure where Brenda is, but the hot spot currently right now would be it looks like Las Vegas. That will be a hot spot of 95. It is currently 91 degrees. Amarillo is 92 currently. Lubbock, 94. Odessa, 94. Dallas, 95 degrees. So this heat is going to continue to the west of the Mississippi, moving up through the Midwest, and that's going to cause some problems this weekend. And right now, San Diego, you're 68 degrees, 83 in Los Angeles, 68 in cool in San Francisco. Portland, 71. Seattle, 65. Is that our coolest spot? 65 is Seattle. Yeah, it looks like that is the coolest spot in the country right now, is in Seattle. Let's go down here to our friends down under so we don't make them feel left out. Brisbane, 49 is your current temperature. You can anticipate it's going to be clear skies, high of 73 in Brisbane. And Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be sunny. Your lows are going to be in the mid 40s, and your highs are going to be in the 70s. Down in Sydney, currently Sydney, you're sitting at 45 degrees, but as you wake up, it's going to warm up to 62. You've already exceeded your low for the day. Tomorrow, it's going to return to the mid 40s and only 60 degrees. Then Monday, the rain will be moving in. Your temperature will drop down to the mid 50s. Melbourne, you are currently at 44 degrees. Your anticipated high will be 52, but it's going to be rainy. It's going to continue to rain on Sunday and only make it up to 50. Yeah, Denise, it is the humidity here in the south is terrible too. Let's see. In Adelaide, well, currently you're at 46. You're going to get a high of 53 with cloudy skies. Sunday, some rain. It's going to make it 51. And so then Monday, it's going to clear back up and be back in the 50s. Perth, well, Perth right now, you are at 46 degrees. Your anticipated sunny sky highs at 66. It's going to remain cloudy on Sunday. So I'm already wondering why we're talking about other days, but I forget that it's already tomorrow there. So Sunday it'll be 64 and cloudy. Darwin today is 88 degrees, sunny skies. Sunday 88 degrees and sunny skies. Looks like Darwin for the next couple days you're going to have some nice warm temperatures. Alice Springs, well, right now it is currently 52 degrees. And your anticipated high will be 65. Sunny skies for the rest of the weekend with a high of 65. And not to leave South Australia out, you're going to see sunny skies, temperatures in the 60s, and on Sunday pretty much the same. So where is the low in Australia currently? I guess it would probably be Port Augusta at 47. Nope, Broken Hill, 43. Oh, we have a 40 down in Bendigo. It's actually 39 degrees. Whew. Bring that up there. Bendigo, currently, you're only going to get your low is 39. You're already at your low. It's going to get up only to 53. Oh, wow. All right, so that is your forecast for Australia. Wendell, did you not hear? I just gave the forecast for McMinnville. Somewhere in here, I had it brought up. Currently, McMinnville is 90 degrees, Wendell. That's the high for today with cloudy skies. Saturday, high of 93 and partly cloudy. Sunday, though, it's going to be hotter and it's going to start to rain for your trip home, Wendell. So there you go. Did I miss anybody? I don't think I did. So let's see. I've only got a few minutes left, so let's move on here real quick. The heat risk, we've talked about pretty much all of Florida, all of the East Coast, extending back over to, well, really the Four Corners and over up to Denver and up to the Great Lakes from code orange to code red. Next couple days is going to be warm on the Midwest, the East and the East Coast, the Atlantic region. So please wear sunscreen, stay hydrated, take breaks. And we'll look real quick here at the blue, beautiful, round, perfect globe. Let's see what current wind conditions are. We see that that's the problem, Denise. Right now, there's not a lot of wind moving in the deep south all the way up to the New England region. All that wind is being pulled offshore. So that is why we're so hot right now, is there is no air movement. The only air movement in the States is what's coming up out of the Gulf through the Rockies up into Canada. So that's the only real air movement. On the West Coast, you've got some Pacific wind coming in, and it's hitting the Sierra Nevadas and going up to the north. So that's why we're so hot. There's just nothing moving from New England to the deep south. It's just sitting there, even Florida. That's why it's so hot. Nothing moving at all. Huh. Wonder what our fire map will look like, or our smoke map. Good Lord. We go over to Australia, take a look at your wind conditions. It's pretty windy in Australia today. Winds off of your south, moving in the continent and coming up to the north and northwest. Even on the Gold Coast, there's some slight movement. It's less on the Gold Coast, more in South Australia and Alice Springs back to the west. So Wendell says, we have thunder here now. Yeah, it's anticipated to be stormy in parts of the south, Wendell. All right, so let's look at fires real quick. We've talked about this. Let's see, that's new. Train yard, 400 acres. That is in, where is that? That's in Florida. That's a new one. That's to the west of Tampa. Train yard in Florida. To the east of St. Pete. That's a new one. We hadn't seen that one before. Over here in Jacksonville, Plumbers Creek. That's a new fire we haven't seen before. How do I get up there? Show it to me. That won't show it to me. Zoom out and then click it. Maybe that'll work. All right. Well, I can't really see it, but that's a new one in Jacksonville that we haven't seen. If I do it this way, will it show me that way? There we go. 400 acres is burning in Jacksonville. And then over here in Louisiana, this one, I think Backbone, that's been here for 2 days or so. So 1,600 acres burning. We see the little red dots. A lot of these are also going to be from lightning. And that's what we're worried about over here in the danger zone in Idaho, where all the red flag warnings are in the Rocky Mountains. So we see, man, west is got from the Rocky Mountains west is spotty fires all over. We're not really talking about the fires in LA anymore, and I don't understand why. At one point in time, they were growing pretty large. So we'll hop up here to Alaska, where the president is. There is nothing reported, but Canada, your fire season is in full bloom. Let's look at the air quality real quick from the fire and smoke map before we run out of time and I get kicked off of the air with Radio X and Dare Talk Radio. Let's see. Well, the smoke, Denise, you're going to be getting some of the smoke moving through from the fires up in Canada off Lake Superior, Detroit, New York. It's going to be moving to the south and back out to the east between DC and Boston. New York is right pretty much in the middle of the smoke pattern. We'll jump over here to the air quality. Yeah, go away. Look at the air quality map for the states. And actually, it's not that bad except for up in your area, Denise, back along the Great Lakes and then over in Los Angeles, moving up to the northeast to Denver. Your air quality down in Australia is pretty darn good. We look and see the dust coming off of Africa. Well, as predicted, it's lightened up and she's going to gain some energy right in through here. So keep an eye on Erin. Let's see. The latest earthquake was in Western Turkey. I did see that the volcano report for today, nothing major, and we were at a moderate level for seismic activity for the world today. Volcano, Kilauea, you're still orange. Great Sitkin, you're orange. Denise is great. I can't breathe as it is. We don't have a chance to go through this for the weekend, so we'll look at it. The disaster alerts. You can find this by just searching out disasteralert.org, and you can pull it up and see all the worldwide disasters. And we didn't get a chance to go to the event list either. So that is the military flyers. Is that an E-38? Yep, that's an E-38 nuke sniffer up there. Currently, the nuke sniffer is right up there where Trump is, doing circles. So the E-38 we talked about is up there in Alaska right now. And so it is they're poised because the I didn't pull it up, but the United States Navy is posted down here along the Sitkins Islands, and the Russian Navy are posted down here. So I would assume that the big boom things are probably capable of being set off by either of them. So there you go. All right, I got less than a minute. I want to thank everybody at Yerg's Radio, Dare Media, for allowing me to come on and tickle your ears. I encourage everyone to come over and find me on the tube, and not only find me, but hit that thumbs up button. It really helps. Subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. It would be really helpful if we could. Everybody have a great weekend. I don't plan on doing anything until the Sunday night episode of Big Brother, unless something major comes up. Denise, you are welcome. I hope everybody has a great weekend, and I am out of here for the weekend. I'm going to take the night off and watch On Patrol, my new favorite show. So everybody have a great night. I'm going to play some music and get us out of here. We will see you soon. I say I'm going to play it. There we go. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you soon. Sportcat is out.